You are listening to Rouge Radio, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argos are dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Doug Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony Allen.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Rouge Radio podcast powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. My name is Robert Dalton, and joining me, as always, Mr. Tony Allen. And we're going to get to your little shirt in a bit. Let's go to this week's booth announcer, which is every week's booth announcer.
The podcast is sponsored by the good people over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, enter the promo code Rouge, and you get 20% off your order, plus free worldwide shipping. Go to manscaped.com. Your balls, oh, they will thank you. Gentlemen?
Thank you, person with no name. Until that. Hey, Tony, so if anybody's watching this on YouTube, hey, you've got is that the Medicine Hat Tigers WHL championship shirt you got on?
It sure is, and for those that don't know, this is the Ed Chenoweth Cup, which goes to the Western Hockey League champions of the world. But unfortunately, it didn't have the dream ending we were all hoping for. I really felt bad the most for my son. He's 8, and the whole week leading up to the Memorial Cup, he's like, oh, I can't believe I'm alive to watch the Tigers win a Memorial Cup.
Oh.
But unfortunately, they didn't. They got absolutely dominated by the London Knights. And there's a reason everybody hates the London Knights, because they're so good. And they proved it again. So unfortunately, the Tigers were 1 win away from winning their 3rd Memorial Cup. But we'll see what happens. It was a heck of a good run. It's always emotional when you get a team, because hockey's postseason is so long, especially in junior hockey, where you have to go 4 rounds of your own league playoffs.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
another
the worst.
3 games in the Memorial Cup, and I mean, people say the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win. I don't know. The Memorial Cup, you do exactly what the NHL does, and then you got to win the best on top of their league. So, if the NHL took on the winner of like the KHL and the Swiss League or the Swedish League or something, and another champion, maybe it'd be close to junior hockey in Canada for hard trophies to win. But unfortunately, my hockey season is over now. There's no professional hockey left in the world left happening now. So my last tribute to the Tigers, and then it'll be Stampeder stuff from here on in.
Until week 4 when they're 0-4.
Yeah, right. We'll see. Not according to my predictions today.
So we got a not a huge show, but a very entertaining show. We've got obviously our last team that we are going to preview. It's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And of course, we've got football this week. We are recording today, June 4th, Wednesday. And by the time that you listen to this, it'll probably be ready for game 1, featuring the Ottawa Redblacks, featuring your Drew Brown against the also Tony's Trevor Harris and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So
love that guy.
Yeah.
The greatest insurance policy since Kevin Glenn.
I apologize if you're watching this and you're looking at me look down at my phone. I am paying attention to overtime. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals is in overtime. So if it hasn't ended yet, I don't know about it. But so I mean, do we? I mean, first off, before we get into week 1, some sad news coming out of the CFL world. Monday night, our beloved friend of the show, Milt Stiegel, tragically lost his son Chase, who was at the tender age of 20, who passed out on campus. And I know that we've all gone to our social media post, but truly, Milt, this podcast, our thoughts, the city of Winnipeg, Manitoba, the CFL fans across Canada, you and your family are deeply in our thoughts. Speaking of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, let's go to that seems kind of very anticlimactic just to go from something like that to talk. So I apologize if that was a downer, but it was just something that was unexpected.
We kind of have to do.
Yeah. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers come into 2025 losing some key free agents: Tyrell Ford, Kenny Lawler, Ontario Wilson, who went down to the NFL, Liam Dobson, Adam Big Hill due to possibly retirement, and Drew Wolotarski. Key additions: Dylan Mitchell, Jarrett Stearns, Peyton Logan, James Waters, Shea Patterson. Well, I'm reading this as of this recording. Shea Patterson's no longer with the Bombers. He was released 2 weeks ago, and of course, linebacker Jonathan Jones. It seems like the law of averages would indicate that maybe it's time for Winnipeg to not, but looking at the competition in the West, it seems like maybe they're on the tail end of their little of their franchise mode, just like the Calgary Stampeders were roughly about 6 or 7 years ago. So, Tony, if you're a hardcore Bomber fan, as we know that you are on some occasions, how do you see the Bombers, and why do you think that they're finished first in the West?
Well, my fandom has definitely calmed down since the Drew Willie years, but they've weathered the storm of losing Drew Willie, and I don't know, it's tough now because the Winnipeg, 5, 6 years, 7 years, Winnipeg has pretty much been the class of the Canadian Football League, and I mean, like everything, it comes to an end. I don't predict the Bombers to plummet down the standings back into oblivion where we won't see another Grey Cup in Winnipeg until 2086 or something like that. But I think logically it's going to be a progression year, and it's another year older of Zach Collaros, and God knows I thought Zach Collaros was out of steam when the Bombers got him. So I mean, you got to give a little respect to Zach Collaros for being what it is, but I mean, it was like it's just Father Time catches up with everybody, and I think it might be a bit of a down to earth season. I think the Bombers will be a good 500 club. I'm not sure what they have at quarterback should something happen to Zach Collaros, but it's tough to be as enthusiastic for the Bombers as I've been in the past, and they've got a lot that they want to prove this year. Mm-hmm. Again, I hate to go through the whole spiel about going to 5 Grey Cups and 4 Grey Cups and losing 3 of them or something like that. Like, they definitely are in a tough spot, and I not only do they have to be the best because they're expected to be the best, they're going to have to fight a stigma now about their organization that, deserved or not, it exists because you just lost back-to-back Grey Cups after winning back-to-back Grey Cups. And I don't think they're the Grey Cup favorites this year. I don't know who it is. It's a nice big open field for the Grey Cup this year. And I remember, for some reason, I'm having deja vu, like this is how we started 2024 by saying,
I feel this is how we start every year, where the path to the Grey Cup is wide open for every team, and then
for the last couple of years it has been Winnipeg, but again, but I don't think I can't see it being Winnipeg, but they can prove me wrong. They did last year. They pulled out and they took the reins and they proved themselves the best in the West again. But I definitely think it's going to be just a couple games over 500. Not a bad season, but a step back season by Winnipeg Blue Bombers standards, if we can say that.
Where do you have them sitting? What record?
I have them. What do we got here? I've got them at a pretty respectable 13-5.
Okay, so they finished 11-7 last year. First,
no. I'm going to get rid of that.
I was just going to say, you had them at step back, and then you're like...
No. As soon as I wrote that, I'm like, what am I doing? I just pretty much Oh, 9-9, maybe? No, they're not that bad, are they? You know what? I'm gonna go, even if it still contradicts myself, a 10-8 football team.
See,
Just taking my notes down.
yeah, so if you look at last year, they finished 11-7. They won nine. What is it? 9 in a row at one point. I think that's what it might be, or 8 in a row. Anyway, but they started off the year 0-4, and a lot of people will say, well, okay, well, the age got to them, even though the average age of their starter was like 27 and a half or something like that. I think the key thing that really played a big part in it is they really started to slow out of the gate. Duh. But why? I mean, they had no starters playing in any of the preseason games last year. And therefore, week one, when you come in against defending Grey Cup champions, they're in regular season mode. Meanwhile, the regular starters that you have, and again, this isn't making an excuse, but is kind of plays a part when you look at a team that just comes out of nowhere, and then starts 0-4 and then finish 11-7. Something's got to give. There's got to be a reason for that. And then now they exercise some of that this past off season or the preseason, where they played their starters reasonably as much as you expect them. I don't think they're going to have that same of an issue though. So if we actually take the regression into consideration, based on a better start, possibly they have the week one bye. They very well could have BC going, with their game this week, coming in a little bit more beat up than the Bombers are, who have that extra week of healing some injuries coming out of camp 2 days. So I have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers still at 11-7. But sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. The Edmonton Oilers have won in overtime.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal.
Sorry. Breaking news. We should. I don't have a sound effect for the CNN break.
I've got two buddies who are both texting me right now, and I'm just waiting for the texts to come in. Two Oilers fans, buddies, and they are unmerciful.
Leon Draisaitl apparently has the overtime winner in overtime, but I digress. So you have them at 10-8. I have them at 11-7, which is the same record that I predicted them to have last year. However, I predicted them to have to be in second last year. I'm thinking the parity is a lot closer, like you said. I predict Saskatchewan and Winnipeg to be on equal terms for the duration. But I do think Winnipeg might have the tiebreaker if that's what it comes down to it. I don't see Saskatchewan being up on that level at this point. But I do have Winnipeg finishing 11-7 this year.
Do you want my standings?
Oh, this
is how I see the CFL East and West finishing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In the East, I see it being Ottawa on top, Toronto, Hamilton, Montreal.
You got Montreal. You got Montreal all the way at the bottom.
I didn't say it was a bad record, but I'm just saying I got.
But still,
a crossover. Maybe I'm calling crossover.
Okay.
This is ridiculous. Anyways, on the west side, Edmonton, BC, Winnipeg, Calgary, Saskatchewan.
Okay, I know that you went to the Saskatchewan last place last week. Convince me why Edmonton, without a very true number one threat at receiver now, because they cut Alex Hollins. Like, are they going to have a severe running attack now, where they're going to be in? I know I've been on the Edmonton Elks train as far as improving over the last couple of years, and I kind of just want to take a step back. I mean, it's not that I'm not a fan of the moves that they made. I think that there are moves that could have had, and they didn't make them, and that's usually on the offensive side. And to me, I don't know about you, but to me, it's just a matter of what they didn't do as opposed to what they did. That's my reasoning that Edmonton is not in first in my standings.
I think Edmonton. I think I'll give Edmonton's defense a passing grade, and I feel like Edmonton there's going to be an Edmonton receiver we haven't heard about yet who is going to make a name for himself in the season, and we'll be talking about him. I don't know who that receiver is. It just feels like it's primed to happen.
All
So
right.
we'll see what happens.
Well, right now,
I mean, I'm not right or wrong. It doesn't matter because we don't bet on season standings. I suppose there's prop bets out there you could do, or maybe I haven't been through Sports Interactions yet to see. But I mean, if I'm wrong, who cares? I'm having fun. Throw it out there for way too early predictions.
speaking of Sports Interaction, let's go to our booth announcer.
The Boys of Rouge Radio podcast are partnered with the good people over at Sports Interaction. Go to sia.com/rouge and your first deposit will be matched up to 100%. And that is definitely not limited to only CFL action, but it is key to know.
All right, thank you, people. Yeah, and we are going to be introducing. Obviously, we're going to be putting a lot of this on our TikTok videos. We are going to have our lock of the week. At least I'm going to have my lock of the week. Tony, are you going to have like a Money in the Bank pick?
Sure, I suppose I can come up with something like shoe in of the week.
The shoe in, yeah.
Big novelty shoe.
Yeah.
That's a big novelty shoe.
Week 1 starts tomorrow. The Saskatchewan Roughriders host the Ottawa the Red Blacks. Oh my God, I yearn for the days of lost where the Renegades were a team or were a thought. Trevor Harris obviously making his start. Jackson Ford appears to be out at least for game 1. And not some notable news that I can see on the timeline for the Red Blacks. Tony, where do you see this one going?
Ottawa and Saskatchewan. I've got the year of the Red Blacks kicking off with a win in Saskatchewan, 28-13.
That's it. That's going to be it.
Nice and simple. There again, there's nothing in Saskatchewan to be excited about. It's going to be Saskatchewan, so they get praised for doing nothing already. So, I mean, there's nothing actually there to be super excited about. And I don't know. I feel like Ottawa's ready to come out, run and gun, and take that first game.
You want an extra bold prediction?
Sure.
This game's going to overtime.
Oh, whoa!
Oh.
Look at this guy.
We
got that feeling again.
I got that feeling. If you're new to the program, I once predicted a tie, and I was off by 1 point. One point. I had as far as predicting the final score. I think this one's going to overtime. I think these teams are as evenly matched, specifically when you consider the home field advantage versus a second-year starter in Drew Brown, who's probably just trying to figure out his weapons. I feel Gino Lewis in Ottawa is going to provide Drew Brown an extra weapon that he's probably hasn't had even in his days in Winnipeg when he was backup and throwing bombs to Kenny Lawler. But in this case, I think that home field advantage, I think Ottawa ends up being the better team. And in years past, we've seen Brett Lothar have some very stinkers very early in the season. I think this is going to be one of those. I think Lewis Ward ends up kicking the game-winning field goal in overtime. Final score 36-33 Ottawa. I think that's my bold prediction. I've got that mid-30s type feel to this game. As first game of week 1 always ends up being some kind of high blowout entertaining game that comes out of nowhere. The next game is the Toronto Argonauts in Montreal to play the Alouettes. Chad Kelly starts the season on the IR. Nick Arbuckle makes his start, and obviously, I believe Davis Alexander makes his first start as the actual bona fide starter. I know everybody is down on the Toronto Argonauts because they've lost so many free agents. I think this has the ability to be a very tough defensive game, but this has all the makings for a huge upset. Montreal at home, minus the air horns. This is something that's going to be very, very, very high up on the standards of some CFL fans. Minus the air horns. Davis Alexander being hyped up over the course of the last couple of years, and he just throws up a very nonchalant meh type debut in 2025. Whereas Nick Arbuckle continues what he started in the playoffs last year. I feel this is a game to where Toronto kind of says, hey, we've lost a lot of guys, but we should still get some respect. I think Toronto wins this one 25-14. Tony.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm taking the Argonauts as well. I hate predictions this time of the year because you don't know what you're getting. The preseason doesn't tell you anything, and you get caught up in remembering what a team was and not so much what they are today. And until I can get into some really good, until I can see some games and know what these teams are, I'm going to take the Argonauts at 28-20. So a relatively close game, a touchdown and a Rouge, or however you want to map out your 8 points there. But, but that's where I'm going. Toronto to win that one. I'm with you there.
Perfect. All right, next game. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are in Calgary to play the Stampeders, and Bo Levi Mitchell makes his return to Hamilton. And although I think he played there last year. I can't remember. There's a part of me that just doesn't remember that, and I think Calgary ended up having some sort of success. But Hamilton Bo Levi Mitchell makes his return. A better offense. Their defense is a little bit of a question mark in my opinion, but I think this is where Calgary, this is put up or show up. To me, this is like, hey, they went out, they made a big move. They had the advantage of BC going over the SMS cap to getting that extra draft pick. And they made the big move to get Vernon Adams Jr. They got a weapon that he was familiar with Dominic Rhymes. And then thus far, I don't think that they've had injuries going into the preseason. Obviously, Malik Henry has some issues to get back. I don't know if he is. It doesn't look good for him at this point, from what I read earlier today. I think this is a game where I probably predict Hamilton to finish still last in the East, but I think this is one of those games where Hamilton comes out and proves that they are at least better than the Calgary Stampeders, if not this year, at least during this particular portion of the season. I think Hamilton pulls off the upset. I haven't taken a look to see whether or not what the cover is, but I do have Hamilton in this one, and this is going to be my lock of the week. The Hamilton Tiger Cats defeat the Calgary Stampeders 26-12.
Well, now it makes awkward for a show sponsored by Sportsbook where we guarantee wins and we want you to bet on them, because this was going to be my shoe-in of the week. So now I can't shoe-in because
you were going to
that
take
would just
Calgary.
That would confuse our listeners. So if you trust Dalts more than I do, then go with whatever metaphor you're going with, a lock of the week or the guarantee of the week or money in the bank or whatever you want to call it. Because I'm going the other way. I think Calgary Stampeders are at home. They're opening the season. And I just think Vernon Adams, they're gonna do it on pure emotion and adrenaline and energy. Even if it's not a packed McMahon Stadium, I think just there's too much good vibes. Dave Dickinson hasn't hasn't drained it out of them yet, the Dickinson brothers. So they're still going on naive reality of what the Calgary Stampeders were last year. I like them to win 21-10.
Okay. Well, we were on the same page up until then. So I don't know what to say about that. Last game of the week, the Edmonton Elks are in BC to take on the Lions. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be showing up to that game because of the halftime concert what is the pregame concert for that? Or is it halftime? But Snoop Dogg, the mayor of Devil's Lettuceville, I guess as we've come to know him on this podcast in the past. Nathan Rourke making the start against Trey Ford. When was the last time that we had two Canadian quarterbacks against each other starting? Like, it's happened. I know it happened recently, but like, I think that was kind of like a Trey Ford making a start because their team sucked at one point and they wanted to switch it up. But these are now two bona fide starters, and now they're like nobody cares about their passport status right now. These are bona fide starters. I'm still not keen. I'm more confident in Edmonton than I am about the BC Lions on this one. So when I take a look at this, it's more not what Edmonton is, because I know that we kind of just did a little segment earlier on about how Edmonton, or at least I did, about how Edmonton shouldn't be overhyped. But I think this is a game where BC is just going to come in and really show us who they really are. And it's not going to be not that good, in my opinion. I think BC I think they're up for a huge letdown this year. The acquisition of, obviously, through Dejan Allen on the offensive line, the hiring of Buck Pierce, a lot of the moves that they made off the field, which were key. But I think BC, I don't think they made the moves that they needed to make. And I think this is a game where their weakness will be exposed by Edmonton's strength, which is their defense. And I think Edmonton wins this one. I really want to change my lock of the week to this one. I got Edmonton winning this one 25-18 over the BC Lions. Where do you got this one?
We were definitely vibing in the first week of the season, other than a Stamps Ticats game, because everyone knows I was the mayor of Rourkeville when Nathan exploded on the Canadian Football League scene. I love the guy so much, and I feel like, though, maybe he's not going to be quite what we expected. He'd probably still be a good football player, good quarterback in the Canadian Football League. And now that it's his first full season back, the NFL experiment is over. There's going to be a belief that he's all in on the BC Lions. He's all in on the Canadian Football League. And it feels like it's primed to be a fall flat on his face. And I hope he doesn't, because I still like the guy. But I think between Trey Ford and Rourke, I feel like Rourke is the Canadian most will be rooting for, because he had the biggest entrance into the Canadian Football League opposed to Ford, as where people in Edmonton were begging for the Elks to just try him out.
Mm-hmm.
Rourke was painting the town red. He was living the high life, and Ford was being hid. And I think with Rourke one being up front, Ford's the one that's going to steal the spotlight, the Canadian spotlight on this one. I think he's going to have a massive day too. It's going to just be an absolute stumble out of the gate for the BC Lions. I have them at 38-15 for the Edmonton Elks to start the season.
There we go. So if you are heavy on the betting lines, don't pay attention to the Tiger Cats and the Stampeders game. Tony and I are on the same page for the other three games. Before we wrap up this show, obviously, as every year, all members of the Canadian Football Podcast Network are participating in the CFPN Fantasy League, obviously through the CFL, obviously. All proceeds, the winnings, go to the charity of the winner's choice. I haven't really made up my mind, although in years past I haven't really.
I didn't think Dairy Queen was a charity, but whatever.
There we go. So week 1 is starting this week in our league. I am playing the league average. So if you know those rules, it is. I don't have an opponent this week, so instead of actually having a bye, I play the league average. So if the league average is 80 points and I happen to get 82 by chance, boom, I am 1-0 without facing competition. That's how good I can end up being.
You just have to be a little bit better than average.
Just better than average. I feel like that is
bare minimum.
Just better than Trevor Harris. Okay. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, just let's strap in. The last 2 CFL seasons, regular seasons, have been outstanding. Let's hope. Let's just hope that we can even get a dose of what we got to start 2024, because that was an amazing regular season that never got enough hype.
Yeah, I completely agree. If we could put that into the Hall of Fame, possibly. If a season could be in a Hall of Fame, that might be it.
I forgot we had that conversation, didn't we?
Yeah, I kind of rehashed things that nobody ever really talks about. That's my MO in the podcast world. All right, well, that'll do it for this week at episode 524. My name is Robert Dalton. That's Tony Allen. You can follow us on Blue Sky at Rouge Dalts. I'm not going to go through the .bls, okay, whatever. You know where to find us. And, of course, our podcast is available there at Rouge Radio. Find us on YouTube. Just search for it if you haven't. Hey, give us a subscription, a subscribe, a like, or whatever. Let us know what you feel. Give us a comment. Tell all your friends. And, of course, we are available on all your podcast applications where you find them. For Tony, I'm Dalts. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.